There we go. How about that? Yep, should have it now.
All right. Now we got the lights flashing on the bar.
Okay. I'm glad we can have this time together. Ooh, doggy. So yeah.
So
Caleb's document was great.
Yep.
We had some vindication in our analysis of the way that he plays. They were giving Marisha crap for her accent and Jaegering.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and she is self-admittedly not good at accents.
right.
Yeah.
But see, I struggled with MVP.
I did
this
too,
episode.
and according to your notes, we have different thoughts on it.
Yes.
Because none of them made it into my running.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. But yeah. So outside of the Liam's prep notes,
Yes.
we get into their fact finding, their casing of the
Yes.
cave, and like something occurred to me when watching this, and I don't know if it's necessarily a game design choice, like the mechanics are supposed to reflect this reality, or if it's just this is the level at which these things come into play. But a lot of 4th level spells get around legwork. It's where the good divination spells start showing up. Rena used conjure woodland beings.
Yep.
So summon bats to go in and scout for them.
Yep.
That just struck me. And by the way, Callista on YouTube pointed out, you were right. True Polymorph is 9th level. I think my confusion was the last time I looked at it in the book.
Yeah.
I was looking for a 7th level spell. So I think that's where my wires got crossed on that.
Happens to the best of us.
But yeah, and so the Jester casts Polymorph. She wild shapes.
Yep.
They scout the outside of the mountain looking for another cave entrance, because what if this isn't the one?
Right.
And a lot of that was players' natural inclination to try to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
Where you used a spell to bring you to the place the DM has presented you with this cave that he went into great detail describing the spider web of ice coming off of it.
Yeah. And you rolled well on your teleport to get as close as you can to the place you wanted to go, and you're there at the entrance.
Yes. And they're like,
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, players are always going to try to look for another angle.
Yeah.
I
don't think I would have been like, oh, it's not this, there's another one, and be like, is there another way in other than the main entrance?
Yeah.
Kind of looking.
Also, Matt gave us a numerical value on altitude that they were at. He said, the peaks are 5,000 feet.
Yep.
That's not an impressive peak.
Yeah.
Coming from somebody who lives at 5,800 feet.
And are less than 2 hours away from 7,000 feet.
Yeah. So add 10,000 to that.
Yeah.
Then you're getting into
Yeah.
to really high, crazy mountains. But yeah, that was a little. When he said it on live, I kind of laughed. I was like, 5,000 is not that impressive.
No,
Um,
that's full range of seasons.
although their northern latitude may preclude that.
Yes, that's true.
But yeah. But Liam's suggested courses of action, which Marisha did get out,
Yes.
and Laura expanded upon, is basically the plan that they ended up going with and worked basically perfectly
yeah. Okay.
outside of some hiccups.
I can give that to you, and I can see your argument for Liam. I had a hard time putting him in the running because he wasn't there to actually push the story.
Well, see, and I put him in there because Liam's tiny hut was key
Yeah.
to this episode. It was his suggestion. And the notes that he gave Marisha really put him in the running for MVP for me.
Okay.
And I thought it would make an interesting discussion to give
Yeah.
MVP to a player who wasn't actually at the table.
Yeah, and I can concede all of those points, you know.
But it is a long shot.
I can concede all of those points for Liam. Marisha, I felt was like too split between Bo and Caleb to really be. Yes, she was effective in following through on Liam's notes. Yes, she did things as Bo, but she wasn't really effective to be a major driving force as either. If you combine both, yes, I can see the argument.
And I have to concede that. My reason for putting Marisha on the list was because Jaegering is not easy.
True.
And
Yeah, no.
Travis's Jaegering of Yasha tends to be more ROLL
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, backseat, autonomous drone.
Yeah.
And, you know, no disrespect or anything. She did a wonderful job, and it is a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But it does detract from not only the player, because they're splitting their attention between two, but it detracts from the characters because they're only getting half the attention they normally get.
Fair. But what killed it for me for Marisha, and I almost didn't even put on the list outside of a point of discussion, was her shrinking when at the end of the episode with the dragon. I had to give her props when she cast dancing lights to give them some light, and there was some derision among the players, and she was like, "Don't
question my choices."
And that was, and as Sam gave her props in the moment, he was like, "That was a good choice."
Yeah.
But
although that almost felt reactionary to her statement, "Don't question my." Okay, you're good. You're good.
It's true. But that shrinking on the rope was just gut wrenching.
Yeah.
It was almost as gut wrenching a moment as when Laura dropped her purse or something under the table and made all the noise at the beginning of the Caduceus Ford thing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
the amount of guttedness for me was more with Marisha and the throwing, but I felt that. Ooh.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than accidentally doing something like that in the middle of someone else's role play moment.
Yeah,
because you really don't want to break that for them.
Yeah, which reminds me of a joke that I used to tell all the time. You'll never see a clumsy drummer, a percussionist.
Mm-hmm.
You will only hear them. Because as soon as anything happens in the percussion section and everyone turns, every percussionist is looking around like, who did that?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, so for me, you're going through the three you have listed up there, and you're pretty much going in reverse order, going from the one that was highest on my list to lowest, even though none of them made it. And I've explained my reasons for the first two. Laura is your third. Go ahead and put out for that, and then I'll give my thoughts.
So the reason why Laura makes my top list, other than my previously admitted bias for Laura, is it was basically her plan that she came up with in the first 45 minutes of the show that they ended up going with. She was clutch in getting the ice fleck.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't have gotten it without her.
Yeah.
So with it being her plan, she used everything in her class. Her duplicate, she used her channel divinity for both options for her channel divinity she used. That's her subclass specific.
Right.
Her use of spells was on point the whole episode. And she also helped in the naivete portion of the episode, where they're basically goofing off and talking about, well, maybe the dragon just needs to get married.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is maybe why you don't want to.
Part of my reason, yes.
Yeah.
I can't concede that it was Laura's plan. She formalized it, but it already goes in line with what Liam had presented. It builds off of that, and it was just a cacophony of chaos with Rainey, Jester, and Not, and and it's just like they get in their shtick and they just keep piling it on, and it's fun, but it often leads down the most rabbit trails, the most, I don't want to say wasted time in the session, but
spinning of wheels.
Spinning of wheels, yes, that's a good term for it. And that's also why Not was not on the list. Now, Rainey did make my short list, despite having been involved in that, because a lot of what she did was clutch.
Yeah. Well, and I thought about Rainey, but we didn't formalize, but we basically gave it to her last week.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. She did push that story.
Yeah. We talked, that last episode was all about her. So,
yes.
Yeah.
My other shortlist contender that I wasn't my vote was Caduceus. Both story-wise later, which we'll get into with him and Ford, but in the blessing, in the, kind of just being cautious. He didn't say much, but he's just kind of like, hey. But a lot of the things he pulled off in the moment was also up there in the plan.
Yeah.
The plan was really a great execution of teamwork.
Yeah.
Like,
I think they were channeling Avengers.
If any of them had dropped the ball, so to speak, the plan would have gone south quickly.
Yeah.
So it was really, really hard to put anyone up just because of what they did in the plan, because it took all of them being right there at the right time, the right place. And, but the one I give it to is actually the one that I harass the most, and that's Travis / Ford.
Okay.
And that's because while they're formulating this convoluted chaos of a plan, he's the one that points out the holes that they fix for the finished plan.
Okay.
He also does his part in the plan, and then he's a big part of the story outside of the battle.
Fair points.
And I don't know if this was it, and this isn't episode specific, but I don't know, and I touched on it last week. I don't know if it was intended by Travis, but I really feel that the evil that I ascribe to him is, in a roleplay sense, whether it was intended from the beginning or retroactively, the influence of Uk'otoa on him. And now that he's breaking away from Uk'otoa, he's changed. He does a lot less, his personality has altered, not, out there, but noticeably. And
well, I think part of that comes from him channeling Vandrin so much.
Yeah, and it could be. But I think that, that whole evil dynamic I ascribed to him was Uk'otoa's influence. And I think I touched on that once at the beginning of the pirate arc.
Yeah.
Because as we got closer to the coast, he was getting worse and worse. And I mentioned that. And wondering if it was an influence of Uk'otoa and it was a roleplay decision. But I think with what's happened, even if it's retroactive, maybe he listened to us and he's like, hey, that's a good idea. I doubt that, but it's a nice pipe dream.
Yeah. I can't really give it to Ford because even yes, the essence of storytelling, the best parts are the human heart in conflict with itself. And Ford's story has arguably the most of that we've seen. Outside of Caleb.
Yes.
But what we've seen of that has been Liam finding ways to insert his inner monologue into play.
I think the other one who really has that, and it hasn't been touched on to the degree either of those two, but it will when their backstory comes up, and you can see the seeds of it, is Beauregard. That inner conflict and the family, and I think she is, when we get to her backstory and delving into that, it's going to be just as poignant.
Possibly, and we got a little bit more of that in this episode, and it's not in my notes, and I'm glad I didn't forget to mention it, because I didn't want to forget to mention it. When she's talking about bats being smart, and that she wanted a pet bat, but that was after she wanted the snake, and her dad wouldn't let her have any of it. I think that was a small window into Beauregard that Marisha has said repeatedly that Beau doesn't share, unless she has to. So that was an interesting moment that she sort of let the shields down.
Yeah.
And it just sort of passed everybody by.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of those small moments that I'm referring to, in that the only one who, I mean, I'm sure everyone has it to a degree, but those are the one, those are the three that I'm like, they're the ones that, are built around it.
Yeah. So speaking of the bats and the goth Disney princess, and my daughter loves,
your notes sum it up nicely.
Yeah, Monster High dolls.
Yeah.
Was the image that came into my brain in that moment. It was very, and if not Monster High, which is heavily influenced by the art of Tim Burton.
Yeah.
And Corpse Bride and Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yep.
For sure. So one of the things I want to talk to you about this episode is the map design, map/encounter design.
Okay.
Because last week Matt said that they bypassed a bunch of encounters, and he had some pretty cool maps built, and he offered to show them his maps.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know if he did, or if he did not, and if the map that he used was prepped for their travels.
Possibly, but I think that the map for the floor the fight was on, possibly, but I'm sure he had it mapped out as itself, because they were going to Mythborough. And key thing in that, he did say, I can show you some of them.
That's true.
Meaning he had some of them he wasn't going to show.
That's true.
So even if he did, that wasn't one of them he showed.
It's fair.
Because if he thinks he's going to reuse it quickly, he's not going to let them in on it just yet.
Yeah. But yeah, it is.
But yeah, no, that's the thing I have done.
Yeah.
Oh, my players have skipped these encounters. This is a play. This is key information, or I really like this layout. I think I did a great job on it.
Yeah.
I'm going to insert it here.
Yeah. All I need is a cave entrance. Anyone will do. Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely done that, especially if I have, in Call of Cthulhu, if I have a really good horror scene and I've got the description already, and you bypass it, and I'm like, well, it's coming back around. I think every DM has those moments every once in a while.
Yeah. The other thing that I thought was interesting was the Yetis ended up being a cakewalk.
Yeah.
And this is another argument for Rime getting MVP, is it was her urging that got them to engage them that night.
Yeah.
And kill the 4 that were there. Because otherwise,
Before
if they would have
long rest,
yeah, if they would have taken the long rest immediately in the dome, gone in the next day, there's a possibility they would have been facing all of them.
Yeah. Or all of them in the dragon at the same time.
Yeah. Which basically we got that clue in. And I don't know if Matt had that timeline in his brain, or if he just thought, it'd be funny if this happens.
Yeah.
But when he dropped them in at the end going, nope.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he had a timeline set.
Yeah.
And he may have moved it up or pushed it back a little bit for that effect.
Yeah. But
he's the type that has the timeline set, and whether you're here or not, things happen.
Yeah. And I think part of that also is he knows his players.
Yeah.
And he knows that they will try and get the long rest in, which they almost did. So that would have made it harder.
Yeah.
So having Mika at the table changed the dynamic of what they normally want to do. To
if she hadn't been there, they would have long rested and
had to face all 8 Yeti, or 8 or 9 Yeti.
Yeah.
Before going on the dragon. Yeah.
And they would have taken a second long rest.
Yeah. Although it was nice to see a different player asking for the short rest.
Yeah. Yeah. That was nice. Of course, short rests don't really matter to Ford anymore. Sorry, buddy. I also like in the planning stages, did you notice the trope of how the DM lets you know your plan is bad?
Oh, yeah, he repeats.
This is what you want to do. And he spells it out word for word. And then says, so this place they're living is going to have a new feature in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a hint. If the DM repeats what you said word for word, just to get it straight that that's what you want to do, rethink your plan.
Yeah. But speaking of Ford not caring about short rest anymore, we saw a little bit of Tyrion in this episode because Ford had to rely on an item for his power in the fight. And that was an interesting moment. Again, combat is roleplay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I enjoyed thinking about the parallel between Ford and Tyrion, because Sam and Matt always said that the concept behind Tyrion was if he didn't have all his money and all these gadgets, he wouldn't be anything.
Mm-hmm.
And Ford seems to be
adopting that persona,
yeah.
like, but acknowledging it. Like, I'm nothing without these things. Whereas Tyrion was like, no, I'm great.
Yeah. Yeah. Also interesting from a roleplay perspective, and also ROLL play. We learned, confirmed, I guess, maybe. Travis prefers a mundane D8 versatile weapon to magic options with range and reach.
Yeah.
That are only a D4. So I found that interesting, especially with that, because the dagger is a +2 weapon.
Yeah.
So its minimum damage is 3 plus
3. It's just 3. Strength of 11.
Yeah. Well, in anyone's hands,
3 to 6.
I was going to speak mechanically, not specifically to 4, but it would be 3 plus dex or strength.
Yeah.
To 7 plus strength of dex. And that versatile weapon, because he's using a shield, because he feels he needs the shield now for sure. And so that's only going to be a D8. That's 1 plus strength.
Yeah.
To 8 plus strength. So, like, from a numbers game, that dagger is almost as good as that sword.
Right.
So, but it goes so much of that choice, and I don't know if this is Travis or Ford. This line blurs, but that the size is important.
Size matters.
Not does the most damage out of them, arguably. But she's only using a D6 weapon. And if she was using a D4 weapon, her damage wouldn't go down that much.
Yeah, but arguably, you're adding several more D6 for the sneak attack.
Well, yeah. But that's...
I mean, if she wielded a rapier, she'd be doing D8 plus the D6s.
That's true.
It wouldn't go up that much.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's fair to put a rogue in that comparison because of the sneak attack D6s.
Well, okay. Well, then you can do Beauregard then. Although arguably, because daggers are martial arts weapons, she can use her martial arts die. But
yeah, the dagger is much better than the longsword in Beau's hands.
Yeah.
But I think that's partly Travis. I think that's Travis having been a barbarian, having been the big damage dice.
Yeah.
Still being admittedly, while more comfortable, still a little bit shy with the magic,
Well, and it's still, whenever they joke about his size and strength, Ford doesn't like that.
Yeah.
So, and they've sort of been preying on that the last few episodes.
Yeah. I think that started as joking with Travis because he's the biggest of them.
Yeah.
And turned into a picking on 4.
Yeah.
Because he isn't the biggest of them.
Right. But yeah. I got involved in a discussion on Twitter about the Summer's Dance Falchion and Misty Step and all these things. And I saw how people assume that a mistake has been made. And on occasion, we have talked about how we would do things differently, or we'll point out if Matt made an error, but also how he did something right. Or what have you. And I felt really bad for Marisha this episode.
Okay.
She got done dirty.
Yeah, the slow fall.
And wall running.
Yeah.
Unarmored movement at 9th level. You can run up vertical surfaces. Now, in defense of Matt, saying there is ice there is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
And calling for a dexterity save would be reasonable.
Yeah, I would not have done it at disadvantage personally.
Yeah.
Although she rolled them at the same time, so who's to say the one isn't what would have come up?
Yeah. So, yeah. And then he still gave her damage, even though with slow fall, raw, she wouldn't have taken it. And I think Matt, I don't know if it was a conscious choice on Matt's part to overcorrect with Mika, because the next turn, she rolled her saving throw, which would be at the end of her turn.
Which he even mentioned.
Yep. But he let her
do multi-attack.
Yeah. Which is why it really, I felt so bad for Marisha, because he had just done that to Bo, and he does this with Mika, and I was just like, ugh. But it could be she's a guest.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to rob her of her moment. It could be he already did the math on this, and they're going to beat these things. Does it matter?
Yeah.
If it's her turn or the next turn, by the end of the round, these things are going to be dead anyway.
Yeah.
Because how quickly they took out the first two. Like, the math is there that these things are dead.
Yeah.
Why not just allow this to happen and end it early?
And, I think, it's hard to remember all the rules all the time,
Yeah.
And I think it's just a matter of, this seems right now, and I'm the DM, so this is right now.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly valid.
Yeah.
Even if it, goes against something in the rules or in sage advice.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say it could be any one of those factors, that she's a guest. She doesn't want to. She's been waiting to turn into a scorpion and do this thing.
Or just rule of cool.
Yeah.
She had gotten the bless, okay, it kicked off, and the surge of blessing just let her surge forward.
Yeah. Well, that and why the math was there that they were going to end it this round anyway.
Let the guest do it.
Yeah. Because otherwise she would not have been able to multi-attack.
Yeah.
So I think it was a combination of all those things that Matt was just like, okay, yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Which he did with Marisha on occasion as Keyleth as well.
Yeah.
It's near the end of an encounter. Keyleth wild shaped into this thing. He doesn't want her to, give the player the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we have the magic items, or the scroll case, I should say. Greater invisibility, major image, and levitate.
Yep.
That Matt gave to them as potential prep for this, or for the heist.
Yep.
But he foreshadows the need for climbing when they're going through the Yeti camp.
Yeah.
Because he says, you find climbing gear of adventurers. And they totally just don't need it, don't want it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny. But yeah. But Taliesin shows us why clerics and deities have societal power.
He breaks down religion, basically.
Yeah.
And he breaks it down. He's like, yeah, we're going to look for truth. We're going to look for truth for you.
Right. And yeah, so much of that interaction was powerful and poignant.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and you could see it on Travis's face.
Yeah.
Like, Travis knows that the gods in the world are real. Ford understands that the gods are real, and he has been in commune with a powerful being to get his power.
Mm-hmm.
His reaction to Caduceus is, we're going to talk to her.
Yeah.
You get 3 questions. There, yes or no would be the best way to phrase them.
Yeah.
And we're going to help you out here.
Yeah. And especially after the commune, when he breaks it down, you know, he's like, because Ford's like, how often do you talk to her? Like, all the time. He's like, sometimes you don't hear the answer. Sometimes it's too obvious to see. Sometimes it's not what you want. And it's the basic caveat of why, forgive me guys, why prayer works.
Yeah.
Because you can describe it, oh, well, it wasn't the answer I was looking for, or it was this, or it was that. So it still worked, you know.
And their interplay in that scene shows why wisdom is the casting stat for clerics.
Yep.
Because you have to be able to see your miracle.
Yeah.
And one thing that I thought was great and was an interesting way that Taliesin via Caduceus has framed the way that he views the gods is it boiled down to, my God is great. We used to serve another one. It would be cool if you served my God, but you don't have to.
Yeah. And, you know, and in saying that, I was thinking back to his last dream and Ford's last dream and the moonlight and stuff, and the other god involved with the sword was the Moonweaver.
Mm-hmm.
And the Moonweaver's kind of personality and tenets kind of fit more in line with what we've seen of Ford's character than the Wilde Mother.
I could see that argument, yeah.
So I'm wondering if maybe Ford's going to be a gift to the Moonweaver.
Not impossible, but I don't think the signs have pointed to that it's going to be the Wild Mother.
Well, yeah. I mean, yes, and also it's by default.
I see what you're saying there, yeah.
Because that's the only real established god in their group right now. Because yes, Bo technically worships Idol, but not really.
Yeah.
She's like the Christmas Easter Christian.
Yeah.
And Traveler, yes, Jester serves him, but isn't really an established deity. Like, for a while there, until they found the other symbols, they were like, well, maybe it's just, you know, her thing, you know?
Yeah.
So this is like the real God, you know?
Yeah.
So, quote unquote. But we've already seen that the Wild Mother, through the clays and the stones and the dust, that she's, even when you serve her, you're often serving her as a gift to another god, or as a reminder to another god.
Mm.
So if he does go with the Wild Mother, I think it's going to be that kind of dynamic to the Moonweaver.
Well, do you think so? I have one final question about that scene, and that is, do you think Caduceus, in his own way, was negging the Stormlord?
Yes. And I do like Ford's little salvation prayer in there. Intervene, show me what.
Yeah.
And that was a great dichotomy of the why wisdom is the thing. He's like, hey, I was like, dude, we're already here.
Yeah. 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 So and that some of that comes down to unintentional stuff. Because I don't think like Taliesin didn't pre-plan this with Travis at all. You could tell
Right.
by Travis's reaction.
Yeah.
And Travis, I don't think he doesn't in the moment worry about his stats by and large.
Right.
The thought process that he goes into happens at the beginning. He front loads it so that it's ingrained and he doesn't have to think about it in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think when presented with the opportunity to have literal words with God, a God,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a foreign concept to you.
Yeah.
I think he did. I think that was perfect.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And he said, "Why did I ask the stupid questions first?" It's like, well, I mean, low wisdom. You built that in, you know. And it also shows why. And Matt said it in talking with Taliesin about how to interpret the feelings he was getting from the Wild Mother.
Yeah.
Which is, faith has to come first.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was interesting.
Quick question: did they head straight back to the forge, or did they go residuum hunting?
Residuum hunting. Because
I agree.
it does them no good to go to the forge because he can't reforge it until they reignite.
Yeah.
The real one, because they're going to have to go back to that volcano.
Yeah.
That sword was reforged there. It will need to be reforged there again.
Yeah, I agree.
And that can't happen until Caduceus has put the residuum there. So yeah, I think it's going to be full on underdark or underground shadow running this next episode. And I think Rine is going to be presented with her first mortal conundrum. I have that feeling.
Okay.
And I think we're going to learn that this dwarven family might not be as evil as the Nine were led to believe.
Yeah.
That this artifact is connected to Malaeasmere, which that huge crystal in the dragon's
alien construct they've never seen. Yeah, you had the same thought I did.
Yeah, it's one of the, if it's not the, it is one of the crystals that kept that city flying.
Yep.
That we learned about in the Happy Fun Time Ball.
Yep.
So,
real quick, the chain shirt and the multicolored rock. What do you think those were?
well, for one, it's mithril, and specifically Iceflex.
Okay.
Because Matt describes it as glowing blue, just like the Iceflex that they got the dragon to breathe on. So I imagine it's going to be a mithril chain shirt that gives resistance to cold damage.
Okay.
Would be my guess.
That would be great for Caleb.
Thanks, so he can't wear a chain shirt.
Except for mithril. No, that's Elven's chain.
You still require the proficiency.
Not with the Elven chain.
But yeah, I think it's probably going to go to Ford.
Okay. Even though he already has armor?
Yeah. Or it will go... Ford or Jester. But Jester gets less of a benefit because she's already resistant to cold damage.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The multicolored rock, the rainbow stone, that one I don't know. That's got to be a homebrew. It's got to be a homebrew item. My gut says it's going to be something akin to Chaos Bolt, something that allows Chaos Bolt, or some sort of a prismatic spell.
Prismatic spray.
Yeah. Or something to do with elemental.
Okay.
Those are my top three for that one. Last point that I wanted to hit on for why I wanted to give Laura MVP, and arguably it's not action, but her invitation to TravelerCon that she gave the Nightmare in Ivory, because she specified I put it where he'll see it.
So did we see Gillidan?
That would be interesting.
Gillidan convert?
No, I think we've talked about how the Traveler needs a miracle, and his followers taking out an ancient white dragon could be that miracle.
Yeah.
One that hasn't been seen for 100 years and suddenly is bedeviling the countryside as it flies south, looking for him.
Yeah.
Matt tried to play it off that, they probably won't see this dragon again, even though I know you're sent now. But with that thing, that dragon can track him.
Yep.
So, yeah. I expect this episode we're going to get a moral conundrum for Rine that her certitude up until now will run counter to. Yeah. So.
Well, we are going to go watch Matt and Mika on Talks.
Yep.
Let's see you guys over there.
See ya.